Great. Hey guys, so I know there's a lot of confusion yesterday about the special right triangles. Some people were kind of close to getting it, but not quite there. So the special right triangles, there's going to be two we're looking at: 30, 60, 90, 45, 45, 90. These essentially are just like formulas for your triangles to help you find missing sides. So when we take a look at 45, 45, let's say we'll start off with the side of 1, okay? If this side is 1, this side is 1. Let's say we're trying to find a hypotenuse. Let's just call it x, right? So instead of us doing 1 times 1, 1 squared plus 1 squared equals x squared, then trying to calculate for x, what you could do is just multiply your side by the square root of 2. So we can double check our work though. So 1 squared plus 1 squared equals x squared. 1 squared plus 1 squared is 1 plus 1. And 1 plus 1 is 2. Get rid of the squared by taking square root on both sides. And 2 is going to equal to x, which is the same as up here. That if this was 1, this was 1, this is 1 times the square root of 2. So instead of us going through all those steps, it helps us create a little bit faster step. For this one, we wouldn't necessarily know what the third angle is. This just kind of helps us. But if I had, let's say, a squared plus a square root of 3 squared equals 2a squared, I'd get a squared plus, and that cancels out, 3a squared equals 4a squared. And this is imaginary 1. It'd be 4a squared equals 4a squared, and that checks out. So essentially, these are just shortcuts. So let's say I had an angle like this, and it was a 45-degree angle. That one's also 45. So let's say this is 3. The other leg over here has to be the same, because see how this is A, this is A. This one has to be 3 over here. And then over here on the hypotenuse, with this, we replace this 3 with this A, and be 3 square root of 2. Same with over here. Let's say I knew this side length A, 60, 30, 90. Let's say this side length over here is, let's say it's a 5. So this one over here has to be 5 square root of 3. This one over here, which was this one right here. And this one over here has to be 5 times 2, which is 10. Okay, so let's take a look at some example problems. So let's say I have this triangle here. And wait. Okay, so just a quick reminder. This is going to be my formula. If I know A, I'll know all sides of the triangle. Okay. Oh, you know what? Let's not use. We'll use X and Y. Okay. So if I know A, then I know all the sides of the triangle. So let's see if I can figure out. So these are going to be my 2 legs. See how it comes out from that 45-degree angle? Okay, so this is going to be one of my legs. This is my 45 degrees. Oops. Okay, so in my formula, I see that A comes out of the 45. In my image, I see that X comes out of 45. I know those two are going to be equal, so X is equal to A. Doesn't really tell me a whole lot right now, but once I actually know the A value, it's going to make it a lot easier. Okay, so let's take a look over here. So I have another angle over here. I'm going to assume it's 45 degrees. It doesn't necessarily say 45 degrees, but because of all angles adding up to 180 degrees, you could calculate it and know it's 45 degrees. Okay, so that's 45 degrees. We have another 45-degree angle over here. Same thing, if I drew an arrow going out, then I'd be hitting A over here and Y over here. And like I said, it doesn't tell us a whole lot of information right now, but once we know our A, that'll give us the rest of our answers. So really, the goal is to find what the value of A is. So Y is equal to A. Okay, so now we have our right angle right here. When I draw a line out, that's our hypotenuse. Right angle right here, draw a line out, that's our hypotenuse. So this is your hypotenuse, A square root of 2, as well as this, 4 square root of 2. Okay, so A square root of 2 is equal to 4 square root of 2. So like I said before, we want to figure out the value of A because that's going to help us find basically the A from the formula, because it's going to help us find all the other sides on our example triangle. So this is actually something that's A is involved with to value of a number instead of just a letter. So if I divide both sides by square root of 2, I just get A is equal to 4. Okay, now that's not my answer. You're going to use this value to put back in for solving for X and Y. Okay, so where we have our A's, we can replace. So A is 4, so I can just say X is equal to 4. And Y is equal to A. A is 4, so Y is equal to 4. Okay, then let's take a look at one more problem. So that was that problem. Let's take a look at another one. Okay, so this is our formula, right? Same deal. If you know the value of A, you can solve for any side. Okay, so here's our sample triangle. So let's say we have 45 degrees. Five X, Y. Okay. So start off by 45 degrees. If I drew a line going out, I get Y. Okay, let's do it over here. Drawing a 45 degrees, draw a line out, I'm going to get A. Order doesn't matter because they're equivalent on both sides because it's an isosceles triangle. Order will matter for the other one though. Okay, so Y is equal to A. Doesn't really tell us a whole lot. There's no number value behind it, but we can keep going. Okay, so here's my other angle. Like I said before, we can already calculate it's 45 degrees. I drew a line out. Ooh, it's not a line. It's squiggly. I get A. If I drew a line out this way, I'm going to get 5. So 5 is equal to A. Okay, that tells me something. So now I know I can go back here. So let's just keep going for all the sides, and then we'll go and substitute. Okay, so let's say I have my hypotenuse, right? Goes out, A square root of 2. Goes out. So I can say that x is equal to A square root of 2. Okay, so what are we even trying to solve for? We're trying to solve for x, and we're trying to solve for y. Those are our missing numbers. Trying to solve for x, trying to solve for y. Once we have those two answers, that solves our problem. Okay, so y is equal to A. We know from earlier A is 5, so I could just place that A with the 5. And that's my final answer for y. Okay, and for x is A square root of 2. So I can replace my A with 5. And that would also be my final answer. So those are 45, 45, 90 triangles. Let's take a look at 30, 60, 90 triangles. So same thing as before. This is like our formula. We're going to try to solve for A. Once you know the value of A, you can solve for any of the sides. Okay, let's look at an example problem. So I had this x, y, 8. Okay, so before the 45 was the 45, it didn't matter. We just have to make sure we know what's 30, what's 60. Okay, so 30 going out is y. So 30 going out over here is going to be A. Ooh. So I don't know the value of A yet, but I know y is equal to A. So once I know the value of A, it's going to be really easy to solve. Okay. Because all angles add up to 180 degrees, I know this one's going to be 60 degrees. We draw an arrow out, it goes to x. This one, I draw an arrow out, it goes to A squared root of 3. Okay. So we know that my x is equal to A squared root of 3. Okay. And then here's my right angle. Draw out, it goes to 2A. Draws out, goes to 8. So that's really the only number we have that's associated with A is 2A equals 8. So we can solve for A that way. So 2A equals 8, divide both sides by 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4, so A is equal to 4. Is that my answer? No, but with that information, I could solve for the rest of the missing terms. Our missing terms are y and x. So my x is equal to A squared root of 3. So I know my A is 4. It'll be 4 square root of 3. And then my y is equal to A. I know A is 4. So my answer is 4. So that would be your final answer. Okay. And give me 1 second. Let me get my last problem up. Okay. I know this is 60 degrees. This is x. This is 3 square root of 3. And this is y. So same thing. Use your formula. Triangle. To solve for a. Once you know the value of a, you can find any of the values. Okay. So let's go matching our angles again. So here's 60 degrees. Here's 60 degrees. If I draw a line out, I'm going to get a square root of 3. This is 3 square root of 3. Okay. So I can go ahead and write that out. A square root of 3 is equal to 3 square root of 3. We'll solve for a later. Let's at least get established what is equal to what. Okay. And then we already know this angle is going to be 30 degrees because of the all the triangles angles adding up to 180 degrees. So 30, that goes to A, that goes to Y. So we say A is equal to Y. And then our last one, the hypotenuse, to A is equal to X. Ooh, hello. To A is equal to X. So like I said, once you know the value of A, you can find all the other things. So right here is our A is equal to a number. So we kind of know that's going to be where we're going to start. So you get A by itself. It's A times the square root of 3. So we're going to divide both sides by the square root of 3. Cancel this out. A is equal to 3. Now I know A is equal to 3. I can put A's into here, A's into here, and it'll solve for my X and Y. So I know A is 3, so I can just say 3 is equal to Y. That's your final answer here. And I could put 3 over here. So 2 times 3 is 6. So 6 is equal to X.